All right, getting ready for a Metal Nibbling Operator interview, huh? That's some seriously precise work. We're diving deep into RoleCatcher's resources today.
It's amazing, these resources. They don't just cover basic interview questions.
Oh,
Yeah, they go deep into what the role really means, how to show off your skills, even long-term career stuff.
okay, cool. So before we get into the interview questions, let's set the scene for our listeners. What does a Metal Nibbling Operator actually do every day?
Picture this. You're using special tools, sometimes handheld drills, sometimes big machines, to cut super precise designs into metal sheets.
Sounds like you're making metal art. I bet those skills are used in tons of industries.
You got it. Automotive, aerospace, construction, all sorts. And RoleCatcher's career guide says this field has tons of opportunity, especially with all the new technology in metalworking.
Okay, so now we know about the role. Let's hit those interview questions. RoleCatcher gave us some common ones, and we'll break down how to answer them.
Even if you don't get asked these exact questions, the way we think about them will help you in similar situations.
Right, it's all about showing your expertise and passion.
Absolutely.
Okay, first one. Can you describe your experience with metal nibbling machines? Seems simple, but how do you make your answer stand out?
This is your chance to go beyond just listing the machines you've used. Think about specific projects where you use those machines. What were the challenges? What did you learn? How did you overcome obstacles?
So instead of just saying, I've used a Trump-Traumatic, you'd say something like,
Yeah, like I used a Trump-Traumatic to make custom ventilation panels for a huge construction project. I had to adjust the settings a bunch of times to get the precision right. I learned so much about how material thickness affects the nibbling process.
wow, that's so much better. It really shows you know what you're talking about.
Exactly. That kind of specific example shows your experience and how you can adapt to different project needs. The interviewer might even ask a follow-up question, like, what type of metal nibbling machine are you most comfortable with and why?
Ooh, that's a good one. It's like they want to know more than just your favorite machine. They want to know why.
Exactly. So pick a machine you know well and explain its features. But the key is to connect those features back to successful projects you've done with it. Maybe you love a certain machine because its software lets you do intricate designs, and that's your strength.
Makes sense. Okay, next question. How do you ensure the accuracy of the cuts you make?
Oh.
Sounds like this one's all about being super detail-oriented.
Absolutely. Accuracy is everything in this job. When you answer, think about the tools you use to measure, techniques you use, and even how you personally double-check your work.
So mentioning things like calipers and micrometers,
Ah,
or even using jigs.
those are all great examples. Even mentioning CAD software shows you're tech savvy.
Okay, next question. This one's a classic problem-solving situation. How do you troubleshoot common issues with nibbling machines?
Yeah. The interviewer wants to see how you handle those little machine problems, see if you're proactive and detail-oriented. Machines break down, things wear out. It's part of the job.
So should you have a few troubleshooting stories ready to go, like a time you fixed a dull blade or a make-a-line punch?
Exactly. Walk them through the problem, how you figured it out, what you did to fix it, and the good outcome. It shows off your mechanical skills and how you solve problems.
Makes sense. Having those stories ready helps you stay calm during the interview, too.
Definitely. You want to be clear and concise, even under pressure. Now let's talk about something just as important, safety. RoleCatcher included the question, how do you ensure the safety of yourself and your colleagues when using metal nibbling machines?
Yeah, metalworking can be dangerous if you're not careful.
Exactly. When you answer, highlight how aware you are of the hazards and how you actively keep the work environment safe. Think about everything, from safety glasses and gloves to grounding the machine properly.
Would you suggest mentioning specific safety protocols, too? Things like machine guarding, emergency stop procedures, even proper material handling techniques.
Yes, all excellent additions. It shows you really understand safety regulations. Okay, let's talk about machine maintenance. RoleCatcher asks, how do you maintain the nibbling machine?
So it's not just about keeping things clean, right?
Ooh, right. Preventative maintenance is important. It helps the machine last longer, improves the quality of your work, and reduces downtime. Talk about cleaning, lubrication, regular checks. Do you inspect blades often? Do you follow the manufacturer's maintenance schedule?
So even if the job description doesn't specifically say responsible for machine maintenance, it's still worth mentioning during the interview.
For sure. It shows you're thinking ahead and taking a proactive approach.
Okay, back to those problem-solving situations. RoleCatcher has this one. Can you describe a time when you had to troubleshoot a complex issue with a nibbling machine?
I love this question Pick a time when you faced a really tricky problem, but you solved it. Explain the problem, the steps you took, what you learned, even how it might change how you approach things in the future.
Like a little story, but about a technical problem.
Exactly. Stories help people remember things. Now, how about production? How do you ensure that you meet production quotas while maintaining quality standards?
That sounds like a balancing act. You can't sacrifice quality to be fast, but deadlines are important too.
You got it. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you're efficient, but don't compromise quality. Talk about your strategies. Do you prioritize tasks? Have a system for your workflow? Found ways to streamline things without cutting corners?
Like maybe you preset certain machine settings or have a system for quickly switching tools to reduce downtime.
Perfect examples. It shows you're thinking critically about being efficient. Okay, next one is about safety again. How do you ensure that you're following all safety regulations when working with nibbling machines?
Safety seems to be a big focus, and for good reason. I guess this question is all about knowing those specific rules and procedures.
You got it. Mention specific regulations, like OSHA guidelines or industry-specific rules. Explain how you stay up to date, maybe through training or reading safety manuals.
Would it be good to talk about how you actually apply those rules every day, like mentioning equipment inspections or safety checks?
Definitely. It shows you don't just know the rules, you live them.
Yeah.
Okay, how about this? How do you handle quality control issues with the finished product?
Quality control is key, right? Got to catch errors before they become a big problem.
Absolutely. It's all about minimizing defects. Talk about your process. Do you use a checklist when you inspect pieces? Specialized tools. Are you good at spotting those tiny imperfections?
So maybe you've learned how to spot little variations in cut edges or surface finishes that could signal a problem.
Exactly. That level of detail really shows off your expertise. All right, last question from RoleCatcher. How do you manage your workload when working with multiple machines at once?
Multitasking. I bet that's a common thing for a metal nibbling operator.
It sure is, and it takes organization and knowing how to prioritize. How do you handle it? Do you make a schedule? Do you mentally track each machine? Have you optimized your movements to save time?
Maybe you group similar tasks together or keep materials near each machine.
Excellent examples. Now, before we move on to career growth, let's talk about how RoleCatcher's AI can really boost your interview prep.
Oh yeah, that AI is awesome. It's like having a coach in your pocket, right?
It's even better. It analyzes the job description and tells you exactly what skills to highlight on your resume and in your answers.
So it gives you a custom roadmap for each interview.
Exactly. And get this, it even gives feedback on your practice answers, like a virtual mock interview, but with AI, that helps you improve.
So it might suggest tweaking your wording, highlighting specific skills the employer wants, or even analyzing how you speak if you're using the video practice feature.
You got it. It gives you that extra edge and makes you feel more confident.
Wow, that's amazing. All right, so we've talked about interview basics and the AI magic. Let's talk about career growth in this field. Where should someone just starting out in metal nibbling begin?
Apprenticeships are great. You get hands-on experience, mentorship from experienced pros, and a solid foundation in the trade.
What about someone who's been doing this for a while and wants to move up?
RoleCatcher's career guide breaks down 3 career stages for metal nibbling operators, each with its own responsibilities and opportunities for growth. If you want to advance, specialize. Learn welding, fabrication, or even management skills to move into leadership roles.
So never stop learning.
Yeah.
Especially in metalworking, where there's always something new.
Right. RoleCatcher really emphasizes staying current with industry trends. They even had an example of a candidate who impressed interviewers by talking about a new laser cutting technology they'd been researching in their free time. It showed real passion and commitment to learning.
That's smart. Shows you're going above and beyond. Okay, let's talk about those 3 career stages RoleCatcher outlines. Starting with entry level, what's a typical day like for a junior metal nibbling operator?
Think of this stage as building your foundation. You'll probably be assisting senior operators, working with different tools and machines, and focusing on developing those core precision cutting skills.
So it's all about learning as much as you can and getting really good at those basic skills.
Exactly. You'll learn to read blueprints, get to know different types of metal, and master those essential safety rules. RoleCatcher's guide even quoted a junior metal nibbling operator who said, "I'm constantly learning something new. Whether it's a different cutting technique or how to troubleshoot a minor machine issue, it's challenging, but I love seeing my skills improve every day."
That's awesome. It shows that even at the entry level, there's a real feeling of accomplishment and growth.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the next step up?
The Metal Nibbling Operator. Now you're moving from assisting to running the machines on your own. You'll get more complex projects, making adjustments for those precise cuts, and even working with your team to fix problems and keep production running smoothly.
More responsibility, more independence.
Sounds like a big step up in terms of skill and decision making. Absolutely. You're also getting better at quality control, inspecting your work to make sure it meets those high standards. RoleCatcher highlighted a quote from a metal nibbling operator who said, "I take pride in being able to work independently and produce high quality work. It's satisfying to see a project through from start to finish and know that I played a key role in its success."
That's awesome. Taking ownership and being proud of your work is so important.
Yeah.
Okay, we've gone from junior to operator. What's the final stage in this career path?
The senior metal nibbling operator. Think of this as the master craftsman level.
I'm picturing someone with tons of experience, leading a team, maybe even teaching newer operators.
You're spot on. At this level, it's not just about your technical skills, but your leadership and mentoring skills too. You'll be guiding a team of operators, training new hires, coming up with efficient cutting strategies to optimize production, and even working with engineers and designers to refine those complex patterns and designs.
That's quite a journey from those early days of assisting. It really shows the potential for growth in this field.
It does. RoleCatcher even featured a quote from a senior metal nibbling operator who said, "I've worked my way up in this field, and I'm passionate about sharing my knowledge with the next generation of operators. It's rewarding to see them grow and develop their own expertise."
That's inspiring. It shows that a career in metal nibbling is more than just working with machines. It's about being part of a community, mentoring others, and contributing to the craft.
Okay, so we've explored these different career stages, but let's go back to staying current with industry trends. How can someone keep up with the ever-changing world of metalworking?
It can feel overwhelming, but RoleCatcher suggests making time for professional development. Subscribe to industry magazines, follow blogs, or join online forums and communities.
Oh, that's a good idea. I bet there's some great YouTube channels or podcasts out there for metalworking professionals.
Absolutely. And don't forget about networking. Going to industry events, joining professional organizations, or connecting with people on LinkedIn can open doors you didn't even know existed. It's like tapping into a giant knowledge base and connecting with people who share your passion.
Exactly. And remember, networking isn't just about what you get, but what you give to. Share your knowledge, offer to help, and be a supportive member of that community.
It's a two-way street based on respect and a shared love for the craft. Okay, let's get specific about networking. What are some things someone can do to build connections in the metalworking industry?
Start by going to industry events like trade shows, conferences, even local meetups. These are perfect places to meet people with similar interests. Don't be shy, talk to people, ask questions, and genuinely listen.
Yeah, you can learn a lot just by being in that environment and listening to those conversations.
Absolutely. Networking is a give and take. Share your experiences, offer help, and actively participate.
So it's about making real connections, not just collecting business cards. What about networking online? LinkedIn is a great resource, right?
It is. LinkedIn is perfect for connecting with professionals in your field. Join industry groups, participate in discussions, and share articles or insights you find valuable.
I've heard having a complete and updated LinkedIn profile is important too. It's like your online resume.
Exactly. Highlight your skills, your experience, and even those examples of how you've stayed on top of industry trends. You never know who might be looking at your profile.
Like presenting the best version of yourself online.
Exactly. And when you connect with someone, make it personal. Mention something specific you liked about their profile or a shared connection you have.
So it's about making a real effort to connect, not just sending those generic requests.
Right. Those personal touches make a difference. Okay, we've talked about apprenticeships, specialization, staying ahead of trends, but RoleCatcher kept emphasizing one more thing: passion.
Ah, yes, passion. That's what drives us, especially in a field as demanding as metal nibbling. I bet that really shows during an interview.
It does. When you're genuinely excited, it shows. It makes you a more interesting candidate, it keeps you learning, and it sets you apart from people who might have similar skills on paper.
So how can you tap into that passion and let it shine during an interview?
Think about what first got you interested in this field. Was it the challenge of working with metal, the precision required, or creating something with your own hands? Remember those things and let that enthusiasm show in your answers.
Share stories about projects you're proud of, talk about the parts of the work you enjoy most, and let that spark ignite. Skills and experience are important, but it's that passion that really makes someone stand out.
You got it. It makes you memorable and shows the interviewer you're not just looking for a job, but a career you really care about.
Okay, we've covered almost everything a future metal nibbling operator needs to ace that interview. But before we finish, let's give our listeners something to think about, something to spark their curiosity.
I like that. How about this? With all the automation and robots in manufacturing, what do you think the future holds for a skilled trade like metal nibbling? Will robots take over completely, or will they just change and prove the craft in new ways?
That's a great question to leave our listener with. Something to research, think about, and even discuss with others in the field. Because as we've learned today, always learning and staying ahead of those industry trends is key to thriving in any career, especially one as dynamic as metal nibbling.
It really is a question that sparks lots of interesting conversations and potential research. It encourages thinking critically about the future of the field and how you can be successful.
Mm.
Yeah, it really makes you think.
Okay, so we've talked about apprenticeships, specialization, and keeping up with the latest in the industry. But there's one more thing RoleCatcher kept bringing up: passion.
Ah, passion. You can't beat it, especially in a field like metal nibbling. It's what keeps you going, and it shows in an interview.
It must. When you love what you do, it's contagious.
It is. You come across as a more interesting candidate, you want to learn and grow more, and it sets you apart from others who might have the same skills on paper.
So how can you tap into that passion and make it shine during an interview?
Think back to what first drew you to metal nibbling. Was it the challenge of working with metal? The precision, the satisfaction of creating something with your own two hands? Remember those core things that got you excited, and let that genuine enthusiasm come out in your answers.
Share stories about projects you're proud of. Highlight the things you find most fulfilling about the work. Let that passion spark ignite.
That's it. Skills and experience are important, of course, but it's that passion that truly makes a candidate stand out.
It shows the interviewer that you're not just there for a job, but for a career you're truly invested in. Okay, so we've covered pretty much everything a future metal nibbling operator needs to know to nail that interview. But before we wrap up, let's give our listeners one final thing to think about, something to keep their minds going.
I love that. How about this? With all the automation and robots we see in manufacturing, what do you think the future holds for skilled trades like metal nibbling? Will these technologies replace human operators altogether? Or will they just change and improve the craft in new and exciting ways?
That's an awesome question to leave our listeners with, something to research, think about, and even discuss with others in the field. Because as we've learned today, continuous learning and keeping up with industry trends is essential in any career, especially one as dynamic as metal nibbling.
It really is a question that sparks so many interesting discussions. It makes you think critically about the future of this field and how you can be successful.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of metal nibbling operators, what's the one piece of advice you'd give to someone just about to head into that interview room?
Be yourself. Be prepared. Let your passion shine. The interviewer wants to see your skills and experience, of course, but also who you are as a person.
So be yourself, but like the best version of yourself.
You got it. You've got this. Go out there and rock that interview.
And hey, if you want even more detailed info, check out RoleCatcher's career guides and their AI tools. You never know, you might find some little fact that sparks an aha moment and gives you that extra edge.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to your career.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the world of metal nibbling operators. Good luck with those interviews. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of metal nibbling operators, what's the one piece of advice you'd give to someone about to walk into that interview room?
I'd say be authentic, be prepared, and let that passion shine through. Remember, the interviewer wants to see your skills, sure, but also who you are as a person.
So be yourself, but the best, most prepared version of yourself.
You got it. Go out there and rock that interview.
And hey, if you want even more in-depth knowledge, check out RoleCatcher's career guides and those AI tools. You never know, might spark that aha moment.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, right? Especially for your career.
Couldn't agree more. Well, on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the world of metal nibbling operators. Good luck with those interviews, everyone.